Defensive gardening. What is it? Why you should be doing it? Well, defensive gardening, and I'm not talking about your vegetable gardens or growing fruit trees. I'm talking about planting in a way that denies access to unwanted guests from your property, from your home. This is something you should be doing. Not really something a lot of people talk about, but definitely something you should be doing. Now, the simple fact of the matter is, there's always going to be somebody that's going to want to go somewhere on your property that you don't want. It might be a burglar, it might be a peeping Tom, or it could be something else. It could be a government agent that's decided they want to snoop around your property without a warrant, or various other things. Could be a neighbor that you're having a problem with. Planning ahead, or in this case, planting ahead, can take care of several problems. We all want to be able to have our privacy, so planting a privacy hedge helps. But we can take it much further. You don't want somebody climbing through your windows. We plant something that denies access to that. It's definitely something you should be doing. So, you're going to be looking to protect either your property as a whole or deny entry or access to certain areas. There are a variety of different plants that you can plant to do exactly this. Now, take for example, I don't want somebody coming over my back fence. I can plant something back there. In my case, it's a giant bougainvillea that I absolutely despise. Nobody's coming over that fence in that area. That thing's got 3-inch spikes that happen to be toxic. So that's a lot of fun right there. Somebody decides they want to try to get into that, or maybe they want to hide in that spot. They're not going to go in there. Another good example, say you don't want somebody to go through a window. Well, there's a host of plants that you can plant. Maybe that's where you have several of the thorniest rose bushes you've ever seen. Or another good example of something you can put underneath a window if you are in a drier, hotter area. It's called crown of thorns. It actually does fairly well in Florida, but it does much better in, say, Southern California, Southern Arizona, Southern Texas, because it can take the heat. And things are wicked spiny. You plant a row of those underneath a window, nobody's going to want to go through there. Now, I happen to have a shed that at one point was having a problem with teenagers climbing through a little tiny window. Well, that has a giant cactus in front of that little tiny window now. The cactus is way bigger and completely denies any access to that window whatsoever. Maybe you want to do double duty with something. Maybe you don't want somebody coming along a nice long stretch of fence and coming through that area. Or maybe there are animals on the other side of that fence you don't want to come through. Bulls, cows come to mind. Well, plant a hedgerow of something or a mix of things that keeps them or deters them from coming through. Blackberries, the high bush blackberries, the ones that get real big. A lot of people like to call them brambles. There's not a lot of things that want to get in there. Now, goats will eat it, but cows pretty much avoid it And I've actually seen sheep get caught in it, which makes me think that that plant might actually be carnivore. It might actually want to catch certain things, because I've found sheep bone in those where a sheep got caught in there and couldn't get out. It could push itself further in, but it couldn't get out. Now, I had the misfortune of cutting a couple sheep out of that once, and I came out pretty scratched up. And the sheep was in bad order. It's had to be trimmed to get all the thorns and branches off of it. But it's a very good deterrent. There are a host of plants, and what you're looking for is things that either grow so thick that you can't penetrate it, or things that are extremely thorny. The thornier, the better. You plant them along the area you want to deny the ability for someone or something to go through there. Like I was saying with the windows, but along property lines as well. You can go all the way around your property with something that's really wicked and deny access altogether. Kind of like a living fence, but it's a hedge. And, well, people jump fences really easily. Sometimes fences have problems and you just knock them right down. You're not likely to try to do that with something like a bougainvillea. You're just simply not going to want to tangle with that bush. And for the people that don't know what that is, and they come in and, oh, this thing's really pretty, it's very colorful. And then they start messing with it and start getting scratched up. I'm not going to hang out there. And then they're going to remember it when they're looking down at their arms. And there's all these long scratches. These scratches burn and they swell up. Get pustules along the edge. It's something you're going to remember. You're not going to want to go back there. So every time you see that plant, you're going to go, no, I don't think so. I don't want to deal with that. Cactuses. Well, there are some cactuses out there that are just outright evil. You could plant them in an area, and nothing is going to want to go in there. They take very low maintenance to no maintenance. Cactuses bloom so you get a nice flower. Many of them are edible, so you'll get a nice fruit if you care to harvest the fruit. So, plant cactus. You take for example a prickly pear. Prickly pears can get actually pretty large. You can create a patch of prickly pears, say 50 feet long by 10 feet wide. Keep it mowed up to a certain point where any of the paddles that fall down past that point get run over so it doesn't start, but any of the paddles that fall down inside that area just grows another tree or cactus. And now you got an area nobody really wants to go into. You keep it gravelled underneath it, so it's lower maintenance. You don't have to worry about watering it. You can feed it right at the beginning when you get it going, make it grow faster. But you generally don't have to feed those either. You can completely deny access to an area this way. And there's a host of things that you can do. Another way of doing it, say you don't want to use something spiky or spiny. What about using a grapevine on a trellis? Heavy-duty trellis, done up the right way, is better than a fence. Now you got a grapevine that grows across it. You're going to get a crop, but nobody's really going to be able to go through that area. Again, denying access. And it blends in. So if you happen to be in a neighborhood, hey, they look over, oh, that's a nice grapevine. It's beautifully trellised. Maybe you got a nice archway that then goes and cascades over with a gate. It looks great. And you get fruit too, and a living fence that denies access to that area for people that don't belong there. So when you're planting, think ahead. Don't just plant. Plant in a way that is going to be beneficial in the long term. You never know how things are going to be. You never know if there's somebody out there that's looking to harm you that you don't even know about. Deny them every opportunity. Plant in a way that completely screws them over. That's what defensive gardening is. Denies people or animals or other things you don't want in that area from having access, causing you or your family harm, or property damage. It's not hard. You just got to think ahead.